Welcome to the Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, the Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you.
The life you find is something understood. So there's no those vital minutes. Time
A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means. New music is called Mysterizer. Featuring the voice of Amy Barnes. Rick does upload this music. I think at pandemia.com is where you can find whole 1 hour segments of this music, which is so beautifully underlays the Dream Journal and is new every single week. Our dream self is different in many ways from our waking self. They are often much more beleaguered and behave strangely differently than we would. Why is this important and how can we help them? Our guest today is David Jenkins, PhD, clinical psychologist, and author of Dream Replay, How to Transform Your Dream Life. I am your host, Catherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to the Dream Journal. Okay, David Jenkins, thank you so much for being on the show.
And thank you, Catherine.
Okay, fabulous. So I would love to have you introduce yourself, to say a few words about who you are and your history with dreams.
Certainly. Well, let's start off with my qualifications.
Sure.
I do have a PhD in clinical psychology. I have a master's in developmental psychology. And I've studied some family therapy. Mm-hmm. I grew up in Manchester and Nottingham, England, and in my late 20s, two friends convinced me that dreams were meaningful. It took me about 6 months to decide they were right, and it was quite a transformation from me.
Certainly, we have the cultural stereotype that dreams are just meaningless chatter.
Yes, I lived that dream. I came to California. I got married and came to California and discovered Jung. Went into therapy, and I've been in love with dreaming ever since.
Okay. Fabulous. So you and I have been exchanging emails, and you sent me this article about the idea of the dream self. So why don't you say a little bit, what do you mean by the dream self, and how is that different from the way other people talk about the I in the dream?
Yes. From my perspective, the crucial question is, who is the person living your dream life? Mm-hmm. And it generates a very different way of thinking about dreams than if you say, what does my dream mean? Very briefly, the waking self is on the outside. It sees the big picture of the dream. It sees everything. It's no longer afraid. It's sure it's in waking life. Whereas the dream self is living the events. The tiger in the backyard is not a symbol to them. It's an actual tiger, and the fear is real. So to discuss the meaning of the tiger is completely different from discussing the experience of the dream. That's an extreme kind of example. So what I'd like to do is give you a rather mundane dream, and we can look at that and see that there are still two different points of view.
Okay. Yeah, please.
This was a woman, and her dream was, I dream I am on my way to Boulder, Colorado. I've left the freeway and I'm on a narrow road. I swerve to avoid someone standing in the way, and the car goes off the road and gets stuck in the mud. I don't know what to do. I want to get to Boulder. Now, as soon as I hear words like stuck in the mud and Boulder, I'm into a theme of courage. Where am I stuck in the mud? Where is the dreamer stuck in the mud? Has she been in a relationship too long? Has she been in a job too long? Perhaps she's still living with her parents. These are completely different questions to the experience of the dream self. So it takes some effort to let go of the way we usually think about dreams and go back into the perspective of the dream self. And this dream self wants to get their car back on the road so that they can go to the city of Boulder, Colorado. Mm-hmm. And by the way, they've never been to Boulder, Colorado. They have no connections there. They live 1,000 miles away and so forth. So if, for instance, I'm in a dream group, I'm going to ask people first of all, I'm going to ask people questions like, if your car was stuck in the mud, what would you do? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get answers like, I'd call AAA for help. I'd look for a plank of wood to put behind the back wheel. I'd walk to the nearest garage. So they're on a complete, those questions are on the level that the dream is experienced. They're not on the level of what does the dream mean. Mm-hmm. I have good evidence that when we think about the dream in this way, when we take the dream self's point of view and empathize with them, the dream tends to change. So that there will be more information, or the dreamer will not be stuck in the next dream. I can give examples of how the dreams change, but the starting point is to think about what the dream self needs, mm-hmm. and how can we help them. And we help them by solving the problem of getting the car out of the mud.
Okay, so rather than going to the whole symbolic thing of the spinning your wheels, or do I want to be a little bolder in life, that is more about like finding a piece of wood, or getting on your phone.
We're looking for the mundane answers, not the deep, mysterious, archetypal answers.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, that is. I really appreciate that. Actually, I call what I do experiential dream work, because I believe that's having a dream is having an experience. And it's,
exactly.
We don't analyze what happened when I dropped the eggs on the floor, and you just clean it up.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. So that's a very different way of approaching the dream. Okay. Interesting.
Yes. And there are a variety of techniques, but the starting point is, what does that person need, or what do they want? Mm. And we can create a dialogue with them. If I say to somebody, tell the dream self what you give the dream self some advice, it becomes a natural question when it's asked. Mm-hmm. So by and large, people can just do this work. It's straightforward.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay, but this does this way of working with the dream seems like a really comfortable kind of a thing, but it becomes like a very different from, one of the things you say in your articles is to say that I had a dream. Turns out to be complicated and paradoxical because it isn't really me having the dream. It's the dream self having the dream, right? No, you're saying that they're different selves, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for most purposes, it doesn't matter that there's a difference between you and the dream and you in waking life. But when we discuss a dream, it really matters.
Yeah, okay. And yet I'm often very perplexed by the way that I act in a dream, the way dream self acts in a dream. They make choices that don't make sense a lot of times, and they know things that I don't know.
Yes.
It's just fascinating.
In some ways, they're quite superior. They can... They can talk to flowers. They can fly.
That's true.
They can visit other planets.
Right.
And in other senses, they're very gullible. They open doors they shouldn't open. They walk down dark alleyways at night. I mean, how do you say to a dream self, don't go down dark alleyways at night?
Right.
It's a different question than what does it mean?
Right. Oh, that is a big shift in how you look at a dream.
Yes, but if we focus on the experience of the dream and go with the person who is having that experience, we stick very closely to the dream, and we tend to have a very powerful effect.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So one of the whole things about this idea that is kind of disturbing to me is, like you said, the dream self is kind of gullible, and they have memory of certain things in the dream. Like I often have a memory of oh, this was in another dream I had. I might even think, which is kind of a little edge of lucidity. But and yet they don't know that I've already had this nightmare 20, 30 times, and so it seems totally new to them. So when it comes to nightmares, it's kind of horrifying to think that there is some actual entity enduring all my nightmares.
And in some respects, it's even worse than that, Catherine, because they're experiencing it for the first time every time.
That's true. Yep.
So you're being re-traumatized. It's not that you're remembering a trauma. The trauma is happening to you again when you have a nightmare.
Well, this is actually one of the questions that I've debated about in my with my more nerdy dream colleagues, is that can you be traumatized by a dream, or is it just showing us what trauma we have already endured? And your take coming down that maybe the waking self cannot be traumatized by a dream, but the dream self most definitely can. So is that a way of looking at that? How do you look at that?
Let me think. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
Think. I would say, first of all, both are true.
Okay.
You're remembering a trauma, and you're being re-traumatized. You did not in the dream. You were not aware that, for instance, you were sexually abused 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. You're aware of a monster standing at the door. So it's an absolutely new situation. It's a new situation. The dream self is the part of you who is still experiencing the trauma.
Oh, I got to pause. I just got to say that again. That's the dream self of you is the part of you that is still experiencing the trauma?
Yes.
Okay.
In waking life, you've been to a therapist, you might have talked to your friends, you're living a different life, your mother has died, your father has passed away. It's in the past. And you have all these support systems, you have a variety of intellectual mechanisms to deal with it, and so on. But your experience in the dream is red raw. It's just so raw.
Totally.
You are not, when you say, I've had this dream before, you're getting some mastery of the situation.
Right, it's true.
But you need to empathize with the part of you that is still experiencing the dream.
Okay. And so empathize, you talked about empathy and how could I solve the situation. So how do you actually speak to the dream self? Is it something you would do like in an active imagination or in a journal, or what do you recommend?
The very simplest way is to say, firstly, I'm not wild about writing, although it can work. But the question is, there you are, you've written down your dream. What advice would you give to the you who is living that dream? Mm. And again, that's such a different question than what does the dream mean?
Mm. And so are you looking to enter into kind of a dialogue here, or is it more about... Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. If we're sitting here and I say, and you say to the dream self, I think you should try X, Y, and Z, you might be surprised at the answer. The dream self might say, I can't do that.
Okay.
You create a dialogue, an internal dialogue. And it's not that difficult once you've got the structure properly in your head.
Okay, so but you picture that dream self in your mind and imagine yourself talking to them and see what they say? Is that...
Yes.
Okay. So it really is a kind of an active imagination thing where you just ask them a question.
It's a close cousin of Jung's active imagination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's similar to Gestalt.
Okay. Well, do you want to say a little more about Gestalt? What is that, and how does this relate to this process?
Okay. A woman has a dream where she gets a phone call and her mother is on her way round to visit. Mm-hmm. And the mother's round the corner and she's going to be there in 3 minutes. And she knows her mother is going to criticize everything about the house. The house is, by the mother's standards, a mess. And she's in a panic. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yeah.
So rather, you might say, in that situation, you might give your dream self instructions, like call your mother up and tell her she can't come now.
No, that's good advice. Okay.
There's a knock on the door and you tell your mother she can't come in unless she's going to only give compliments.
Wow.
And then you say, well, and then, the dream self says, I can't say that to my mother.
Of course, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, really?
And I would say, it's a dream.
True. Right, but of course, probably needs to be said in waking life too.
Yes. So we're practicing, but we're at that real level where we're dealing with someone in a panic.
Okay.
And again, that's the experience of the mother in that context.
Okay. And so if I think in terms of like a gestalt, would I then do the kind of thing of saying what part of me is like that mother, that critical mother?
No.
Okay.
We'd use close.
Okay.
We'd use dialogue.
Okay. Tell me.
Rather than pause. So we'd say, okay, what would your mother say if you said she can't come in? Mm-hmm. Go back and tell the dream from your mother's perspective. And we get this monologue about, my daughter can never look after herself. She always needs me. I have to look after her. She never looks after this. She always does this wrong. Mm-hmm. And we're in a wonderful dialogue. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So tell you, and the person who's coaching is the waking self. What do you want to say to your mother when she says, you've always been like this. And you might go around a dream group and say, what would you say to your mother?
Oh, boy. That could be a lively group.
But the task is to build up the dream self so that she can deal with her mother. Yeah. Okay. Question is, what does the dream self really want and need?
Okay. Oh, I love that.
But the gestalt is the dialogue rather than who is part of you that's your mother.
So it's the dialogue between different dream characters, dream figures?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. And we're looking to protect the dream self.
Oh, I love that. I just love that focus on protecting the dream self. The poor old dream self. It's just like, well, from a young age, I always heard, oh, it's just a dream.
Yes.
Oh.
But you, the waking self, are the only person who can really help the dream self.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Well, this is interesting. Tell me about dream series. What is it about having like themes? Like I certainly have themes and they evolve over time.
Yes. Everybody in their waking life has themes.
Right.
So we go to work, we watch sports, we're in relationships, something's always happening. We have 5 or 6 themes that dominate our waking life. We might care about the election that just happened, for example.
All right.
In the same way, when you look at large numbers of dreams, your dream self has various themes. So you're lost in a strange city, you're being threatened. And by the way, everybody gets threatened by men.
Oh.
This person, frustration dreams and so on. So you only have a few major themes. And you can change your relationship to the theme. So that, for example, to take our mother dream, you can change your relationship to the mother in the dream. She's still going to be there, but you want her to be an ally, not a supporter, and you want her to understand you instead of her demanding that you understand her. You can make that change, but you have to confront the people in your dreams in order for that change to happen.
In waking life. So you can confront your dream characters in waking life.
In the dream work.
In the dream work. Yeah. Okay.
In the dream work, we organize we organize greater support for the dream self, and that changes the balance of their relationships.
And then do we find, so must say, David, I have never really thought about the idea that I have waking life themes in my life. And you're so right. You're so right.
Once a week you come on the air.
I do. This is definitely a theme. And it shows up in my dreams, like all my famous dream journal nightmares. Like I have many dreams about this waking life theme of mine, of being on a dream journal.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You have a family theme, perhaps, and etc. But everybody has a series of themes that crop up through their life.
Well, so it's interesting that there's these things that we do, like the podcast I do, that is kind of like a physical thing that I do. But there's also these, I would say, emotional themes. Like I have a waking life theme of being in a hurry, and this,
yes,
something I'm very much aware of, and it impacts my quality of life because then I'm hurrying, and that's not a very comfortable state. And so it's not a particular thing, but it's like a theme that overarches a lot of different places in my life, and it does show up in my dreams. Absolutely shows up in my dreams. This idea of being in a hurry.
So I would suggest that dealing with the dreams of being in a hurry will help you to deal with being in a hurry in waking life.
Okay.
So instead of trying to resolve the waking life problem, we try to resolve the dream life problem.
Okay. And, actually, I noticed these themes in my dreams before I even really noticed it in waking life. Like, before I connected them.
Yes.
I can tell I'm in a hurry frequently, but I have these
Fascinating.
dreams of running for airplanes for, oh gosh, decades probably. I've had this dream of trying to catch an airplane and being, running down the terminal or going on a train to get to the airport. And I'm like, wow, this is a real theme for me. And it wasn't really until recently that I connected this with this whole waking life theme of being in a rush.
Yes.
And once I made that connection, which you might say is kind of symbolic, but it's
yes.
And so symbolism is still helpful, just saying.
Yes.
And but go ahead.
I'm not throwing away Jungian and Freudian approaches. I'm saying there's also the dream self to take care of.
Okay. Well, I wanted to yes, I agree. Well, thank you for clarifying that. But I wanted to second what you're saying, that when you work on the dream issue, that the waking life issue then improves as well. Because as I started to make the connections between these dreams and this waking life phenomenon of being in a rush, I actually had a dream of running through the airport terminal, and I somehow got this understanding I was not going to make the plane. It's just not going to happen. And so I stopped. I stopped running, and this man catches up with me. And then...
Beautiful.
I know. And then the next moment, there's a shift, and we're sitting in a restaurant.
And then catches up with you.
Yeah, the man, like the angel, couldn't keep up because I was always in such a hurry or something. And then I end up suddenly we're in a restaurant, and I'm like, oh, I can get fed here. And so it just created this sense of spaciousness.
Beautiful.
I know.
Beautiful.
And I still rush in waking life, but there's less urgency about it, and there is a kind of a sense of oh well, I'm ahead of my angel. I should slow down, and he'll catch up. And
fabulous.
I know, it's been super, super helpful.
In my language, you change your relationship to the theme.
Yeah.
It probably is never going to go away.
Right.
And in Jungian terms, you would look for why this has served you so very well.
Right. Which I thank you for saying that, because these so-called bad habits have roots that are helpful.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it is probably never going to go away. It's just that you're going to be able to have a different relationship to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
David, this is a fabulous conversation, and we're only about halfway through.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I want to just see, after the break, we're going to come back, we're going to take calls, but I also want to talk about lucidity and how this ties in with the dream self. And so we're just as a kind of a tease for the second half, and of course we'll be open to calls very soon. Just wait for me to give the call.
Yes.
Good. So David, this is David Jenkins, PhD, and we are talking about the idea of the dream self. And we are, just let everybody know, we are broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU. We'll be right back. I want to welcome our far-flung listeners. We have local crews: Santa Cruz, Aptos, Mountain View, Pleasanton, Richmond, California, Manteca, California, Arcata, Portland, Oregon, Summerlin Key, Florida. Welcome to the Dream Journal. Danbury, Connecticut, and Isleworth, Hounslow in Great Britain. So good. Truly international show today. And people all over the world are interested in their dreams. If you want to nudge the algorithm to help spread interest in dreaming, please follow the Dream Journal on your favorite podcast app. If you're inspired, we'd love to get more ratings and reviews. It all helps let people know about the show. But really, most importantly, tell your friends. You know, I'd love to have the podcast be a bigger force in shaping the thinking of our modern age. But more importantly, I'm interested in you and your dreams. And so if you tell your dreams about your dreams and your interest in dreams, maybe even about the podcast, you get a place to talk to other people about dreams. I think we could really, evolve humanity by paying more attention to the subconscious as showing up in our dreams. And so let's help those dream selves, because they definitely need help. So also please contact me if you'd like to be a guest on the show. You can talk about a new book, or you can let folks know about your dream-related offerings, or if you know a dream teacher or a dream person you'd like to see on the show, you'd like to hear, let me know. You can follow the Dream Journal on Facebook and Instagram, find out about upcoming shows and pod drops, and follow hashtag the Dream Journal and at Experiential Dreamwork. Next week, our guest will be Suzanne Van Doorn, and she's talking about her Holy Night's Dream Journey, which is a class that she leads based on an ancient tradition of taking the dreams which happen between Christmas and Epiphany, as December 25th and January 6th, as a guide to what will be happening for you throughout the coming year. So tune in for Suzanne Van Doorn and her Holy Night's Dream Journey. So welcome back to the Dream Journal. Today's guest is David Jenkins, PhD, and we are talking about the dream self and how that's different. Like, some of these other terms, David, that folks use are like dream ego. I've heard this very commonly. And how does that sit? How is that different for you than dream self?
Essentially, we mean the person who thinks of themselves as I. Uh-huh. And I have experimented with using dream I and dream ego.
Right.
Ego is a Latin word, and it doesn't have a very dream self to me is an obvious statement.
Right.
We know who that is. Dream ego makes it somewhat foreign and abstract. Right. And a dream I, the word I is so difficult in English when it's spoken, because of it almost means the eye that you look through.
Right.
Whereas, for instance, in German, when Freud was writing, it was completely different. Mm. So Freud used das Ich, and his translator, being very well educated, if not overeducated,
apparently,
translated it as dream ego. But dream self seems to me the most intuitively obvious way of saying exactly the same thing.
Right, I love that. So, David, we have a caller, Jane from Santa Cruz. Hello, Jane.
Oh, hi. How are you two?
Good to have you on the show. And you're calling from Santa Cruz, I understand. Thanks for calling in.
Yes, I was calling in because I was so interested in what you were saying, your guest was saying about talking to yourself about your mother in your dreams to stop that anxiety. Mine was a little bit different because my mother actually passed. But she passed 30 years ago. But I wanted to call and tell you about it and see what you thought. For probably a decade, not all the time, but frequently, I would dream that my mother and I, she was British, were sit around the table drinking tea and talking. And it wasn't dreaming that I was watching us talking. We were actually having these conversations. So just mundane, everyday conversations that I would have had with her if she had lived. And those were great, right? It made me feel wonderful. Something switched into that second decade that she had passed. And the dreams became horrible, where I was looking for her. Looking everywhere for her, calling her, and she wouldn't answer, going to her apartments where she lived yet she wasn't there. She was there. She was not answering. I mean, very, very, well, not, I wouldn't say terrifying, but very upsetting dreams. And they were frequent. The tea party dreams were. And I just got sick of waking up feeling so sad. Like, what have I done wrong? Why won't she talk to me? And then realizing, of course, she's not there. What is going on? I finally told myself in my waking self, when you go to sleep tonight, if you have that dream, you are going to dream that she died. She's not answering the phone because she's not alive and not because she doesn't want to talk to you and she's mad at you. And it took a while, but my dreams, I would wake up, but my dreams would sort of head towards that. I'm calling and calling. She's not answering. I'm looking and looking. And then it would switch and say, somebody, my sister, my father, somebody would say, Mom's not alive. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, that kind of, so it was still not a very nice dream, but at least it was getting to reality. Does that make sense? And then eventually I would wake up, and it wouldn't work. But eventually within my dream, I came to be able to dream out the whole truth of it. Stay asleep and dream it. Okay, she's not upset with me. She's not here. That is upsetting.
Yes.
And now I don't have them anymore. Is that strange or what?
Yes.
What do you think, David? Thank you for sharing that, Jane.
It's lovely that you've done the dream work. You know? You've taken care of your dream self, and that's very, very nice, very sweet.
Yeah.
Is it something that you've heard happening? I mean, that's what you were saying about telling this woman, her mother, you know, don't come and yell at me. But it doesn't really work then.
Absolutely.
Wow, Jane, it seems like you just intuitively followed that process, took it seriously, took the dream seriously, the dream self and her distress.
I was desperate. Because it was so upsetting, you know.
Oh, it's
I mean, it sounds silly that it's more upsetting to realize that she's not here anymore than it was that she was mad at me, but that's how I felt. You know?
Yeah. Take a bow. You did some,
take a bow.
you did some fabulous dream work on yourself.
You did.
No, I think dreams are so important.
They
I really believe that they're quite true. You know.
Wow, this is powerful. Jane, thank you so much. I'm really kind of breathing into that transformation and how it could, to some level seem like it's easier to think of her that she's mad at me than to realize that she's actually dead. I mean, that's really powerful. But yet to feel the truth of that grief is just true.
Right. But, my waking self knows what's going on. I just couldn't let my dreaming self take over. I didn't understand why my dreaming self was torturing myself like that. I don't know what was going on. Go ahead.
I would add one thing, Jane, and that is, in a sense, sometimes our dream self, sometimes nobody's told our dream self the whole situation. A much less difficult situation is when you dream you're going back to take a test. And nobody's told you graduated high school decades ago. So nobody had told your dream self that your mother had passed away.
Oh, so it needed to be done. I understand.
Yes.
I know what you're talking about. I miss the little yellow school bus all the time. I'm like, I haven't been on the school bus for 50 years.
Yeah. Nobody's,
So maybe I should do something with that dream.
We bring in the dream self up to date.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That's good. All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jane.
Happy holidays.
Yes, you too. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Wow, that's just beautiful. That was like a totally natural experiment. She just totally did that process intuitively.
She did great.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness, I love that. And so bringing ourselves up to date, like if the thing is still happening over and over again, like the dream.
Nobody's told you you divorced that person. You're still arguing with them.
Right. Oh, boy. Yes, exactly. Time to let that one go. But that's, often involves, there must be some, as I understand this kind of thing, there's painful feelings about that because why it's been so hard to let go of.
Yes.
Right. So David, I wanted to get back to the question about lucidity. And I wonder, I'm I don't do a ton of lucid dreaming. I kind of have lucid glimpses, like I might recognize I've had this dream before, that kind of thing occasionally. But how does this change the whole equation of the clueless dream self, or whatever you call it, or the powerful dream self? Or
Great. It changes it greatly.
Okay.
First of all, if you're lucid, you have access to far more of your capabilities than if you're not lucid. If you're not lucid, you're living in the moment and you're trapped in the moment. But the lucid self has options in a way that the non-lucid self does not. That's point number one. So the lucid self is far more self-expressed, far more capable of looking after itself than the non-lucid self. That's the first thing. The second thing, it's a bit more complicated to grasp, but the waking self undermines the non-lucid dreamer inevitably.
What do you mean? The waking self undermines the non-lucid dreamer. Say more about that.
Okay. Yeah. The dream self is there in the dream, and they believe they are awake. As you wake up, you say, aha, I was wrong. I was not awake. I was asleep. So the waking self and the non-lucid dream self are always in conflict about the basis of their reality.
Oh my God, I realize I'm just a dreaming myself, even to this day. Oh, you're just the dream self. Oh, you're just a dream.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. The idea, it's a question of accepting that we live in these two realities. But the knee-jerk response of the waking self is to say, I was wrong. There are no tigers in my backyard. How silly. Your mother died 30 years ago. She is, you see, so the dream self and the non-lucid dream self and the waking self are in conflict about what is reality.
Right.
It's a hard idea to grasp, but once you see it, you need to let the waking self let go of his sense of superiority.
But wait, I'm the awake one. Right.
The lucid dream self has a wonderful sense of superiority.
Okay, so how does this change with the lucid self? So the lucid self is now in this dream, knowing it's a dream.
So the lucid dream self is not in conflict with the waking self, because they both agree on what was reality,
and that this is not it. So they're they're undermining maybe the situation they're in the dream, because I can just manipulate it. I can spin around or fly away or something and ignore whatever's happening.
Yes. So their assessment of the world is that they are in a dream. So it's consistent with the waking self's assessment. But the non-lucid dreamer is trapped there believing they are awake. And the waking self is saying, aha, it was only a dream. So the waking self, the dream self needs an extra dose of empathy.
Right. Okay.
It is often deprived of.
The non-lucid dream self.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. All right, here, I have a question in the studio here from Max.
Hello.
Hi, Max.
Hi. I'm a lucid dreamer, not from choice or anything. It's just the way it is. In a good number of my dreams, I am lucid, and I realize it at the time and everything like that. And I've made a practice of trying not to interfere or change my dreams while I'm doing that, so that I can get the full message of the dream. So this creates somewhat of a dialogue between myself and my dream self, as you're describing it.
Fascinating. Yes, you're in. Yes, I agree. You're in a relationship with the non-lucid dream self. Yeah, I love it.
So anyway, this could the dream self be giving me advice too about how to deal with reality?
Yes.
Interesting.
Directly.
Fabulous. I hadn't even thought of that.
Can you say more about that, Max?
Brilliant. I think that's brilliant.
What do you mean, Max? So you're saying that the dream self is giving your waking self advice?
I'm questioning that, whether or not it is. Because it seems like, from what you're saying, it seems like it should be talking back to me about my waking life. Possibly it is, and I have misinterpreted or something like that, but...
Well, okay. What would you like to say to your lucid dream self? What would the waking Max want to say?
Well, frequently I just say, don't control this dream for me. Let's see what's happening.
And does the lucid Max go with that?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. You're on the right track. It's fabulous. I'm jealous.
Well, how's that land, Max? What is that like for you?
It's a little bit odd.
Is it?
But is there an answer you're looking for?
No, there's not. I was just looking to find out if what I was thinking of was something you were agreeing with. That then you're caught in a conversation between your lucid dream self and yourself about each of your problems.
Yes, I love that. You're creating relationships, and you see what I'm trying to do is create relationships where by and large none exist. But you have them. You have brought them into dialogue already. Yeah.
So here's a question. This is kind of for both of you, I guess. So there's the waking self and the dream self, which if it's a non-lucid dream self is very clearly different from the waking self. But when there's lucidity, and does that bring the waking self into the dream, or is the lucid dream self different than the waking self?
That's a good question. I don't know which one it is.
I discussed this with Ed Kellogg, who's an incredible lucid dreamer. And he's strongly of the opinion that the lucid self is quite different from the waking self.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if that could be controversial, I imagine.
Yeah. I don't know if you've had Ed on, but he's very interesting.
Have not yet. I will soon, though. That's a great recommendation right there.
But you see, from my perspective, the lucid self and the waking self are not in conflict about reality, and that makes the basis of their relationship solid. Whereas the non-lucid self is in a kind of conflictual relationship with the waking self until you accept that there are two different realities. We're getting very not highfalutin, but we're getting rather abstract. But there we are.
From a practical purpose, then, when I'm dreaming and I'm lucid dreaming, it feels like I'm in there. It feels like me.
So you don't find that you make different decisions than you would have? Because I'm always amazed by my dream self's decisions.
Yeah.
Like, really, you did that?
No. I make decisions based on what I would feel like would be proper in the real world or to myself.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
So there's a lot more congruency between the lucid dream self and the waking self than the dream self and the waking self. So Max, you may not even know what I mean by the dream self or what we're talking about if you have most of your dreams have some lucidity in them.
Yeah, most of them, at least the ones that I remember, do.
Okay.
Lovely.
I'm often very perplexed by the choices my dream self makes. Oh my goodness, this is a fabulous conversation. Max, thank you for that question. That was really helpful, the conversation. So David, I see we're closing up on the top of the hour. This is a fabulous conversation.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So how shall folks get in touch with you if they have questions? If you like, they can just contact me to get in touch with you, or do you have a webpage or email address you want to give out over the air?
I have, you can email me at dreamreplay at David J. Let me write this down. Sorry. David J at dreamreplay.com.
Just the letter J or J-A-Y?
Oh my goodness. Let me double check. David J, just the letter J.
Okay, thank you.
At dreamreplay.com.
Okay.
But I haven't done much work in public for a while, so I haven't maintained the website.
Okay. But your book is still available, and do you still stand by your book, I take it?
I love it.
Okay, it's called Dream Replay.
Every so often I read some and think, oh, that was great. I wish I'd said
wonderful.
that.
Dream Replay, How to Transform Your Dream Life. So you can look that up and get that book and try David J at dreamreplay.com.
Yes.
All right.
I'd love to hear from people.
Thank you so much, David. Oh, and I just want to give you a chance for some any last encouragements for our listeners that you'd like to throw out to the ethers?
Yes, one of the issues I've encountered is that people feel that I'm discounting the ways they already work with dreams. And I do wish to emphasize that this is an additional way. It's an option. I care deeply about it, but there's nothing wrong with it. Any kind of dream work that produces value is valuable. And there's nothing, I'm not criticizing any other form of dream work. I'm pointing out that there are two clients, so to speak, when you do dream work, not one.
Okay. The dream self is often forgotten. Thank you, David Jenkins. It's been a pleasure. And
thank you, Catherine Bell.
All right. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. This Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, ksqd.org. Listen in, and you can be our caller. The podcast is released on the Monday after the show. It spreads interest in dreaming when you subscribe, rate, and review. My name is Catherine Bell. You can find out about my dream coaching practice at experientialdreamwork.com. Email me at catherine@ksqd.org, KATHERINE. Follow Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag The Dream Journal on Facebook and Instagram to find out about upcoming show. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, engineer and music creator, also Amy Barnes this week on the music. You can find the ambient music at pandemia.com, audio editing by Suki Wessling, and phones by Tony Rosamano. Thank you to all. Intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.
Status quo, it's not as stable as it seems. You can command your kind, but not